Let me know when to go.
Go.
What's happening, everybody? Welcome to MarketYourCourse.com. I am here today. My name is Brad Hart. I'm with Miguel. Hi, Miguel. And I'm also
Hello.
with Sachit Gupta. And Sachit is one of the foremost experts in the area. Worked with people like Andrew Warner for Exergy. He's got a huge roster. It's private work he can't even talk about. Exciting. Kind of fill in the blanks in your minds. But the thing that really blew me away was that at which is premier.
Hey, Brad, we're losing you. You're doing an amazing
We're
introduction.
super excited to have you
What
today.
you say?
Oh, that's a bummer. So anyway, guys, I give your apologies. I'm in Spain right now. The internet is kind of okay. It's not great. I just want to apologize.
Oh, okay,
And get stronger internet connection.
Brad, let me do try to do my own introduction just in case people missed it.
Okay.
All right. So
Sure, go for it.
hey, awesome. Thanks for being here at this webinar with Sachit Gupta. I met Sajid, I guess like a month ago at a very exclusive business retreat called Mastermind Talks, organized by our friend Jason Gagnard out of Toronto, Canada. And we hit it off. And I mean, there's so many amazing people at that event, and Sachin obviously is one of them. And he told me about his story. He's actually working on his own course, and we were talking about courses, and he's like, "Oh, we would love to have an expert to come over and talk about Facebook ads because it seems to be such a common way of driving traffic to fill out webinars, to sell courses, and it's such a big black box that most people don't understand, and they get into it and they waste a lot of time and money. So I thought, why don't you come, Sajid, and give us a little bit of an insight of what it takes to be successful with Facebook ads, or even if you should use them, or when you should use them. So he was very nice and very kind and put together a presentation. And in this next hour, he's going to share with us some of his knowledge, which hopefully is very useful for all of you. So Sajid, anytime.
Thank you, Miguel. That was an
Yes.
awesome intro, Miguel, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm getting better.
Cool. So yeah, today basically we're going to talk about if you're thinking of running Facebook ads, really what you need to know and do beforehand, and basically the 80/20 pre-work that if you do this, this will help you skyrocket your results. And this is stuff that we use with our clients who are spending tens of thousands of dollars of work or tens of thousands of dollars of money on ads every month. So again, this isn't like something we just came up with. It's actually stuff we're using. So a little bit about me. I basically help a lot of top podcasters and entrepreneurs and companies grow their audience and get more leads using Facebook. In the last few years, I've helped companies drive hundreds of thousands of leads on Facebook and spend a lot of money. We've made a lot of mistakes. We've had some great campaigns. So really, like, this is based on everything I've learned so far with everything we've done. And then one quick note, which is if people have questions while we're doing this, just ask them in the chat. And Miguel, if you want to jump in, if people have questions,
definitely.
we'll make it interactive.
Yeah, I'd like to mention that I'm a big fan of Mixergy, which is a podcast for entrepreneurs, which is conducted by Andrew Warner. And I follow him for the last 6 years since he started. And he was one of my inspirations to keep, working as an entrepreneur. That's what I learned about creating online courses through one of his interviews, Laura Reuter. And then I found out that Sachin works very close with Andrew to help him promote his podcast. And so there you go. There's a mutual connection right there too.
Yep, interviewing and asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. So here's a quick overview of what we'll cover today. We'll start with really like defining kind of like where most people are right now, which I call the marketing maze. We're going to go to the 30,000 foot view and really understand where does Facebook fit in the process. We'll go through the 3M framework, which is something I use with all the clients before we jump into anything doing on our computer. Like we do it all on paper. defining your Everest and why and how and why it's important, how to really get to your core message, how to pick a medium. And in this case, we're kind of making the assumption that the medium that people want to use is Facebook. And then we'll try and do a live example of basically going from zero to creating your first ad. And then in the end, if anyone has any questions, we can go through those. Does that sound good?
That sounds like a
Sounds
great
awesome.
plan.
Can't wait, Sachi.
Perfect.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So just to kind of like start with, what most people do right now is they have a website or an app or something, and straight away the first thing they do is they'll jump into Facebook's pages, Power Editor or Ads Manager, start creating ads, and then they just wait. And within a few days, they're like, oh, nothing's working, no results, Facebook doesn't work. And how many people have heard that story, right? Where basically people don't do kind of like any of the pre-work of defining what they want from Facebook, and they just write it off. There's been so many articles about companies who tried to do Facebook ads, couldn't make it work, and just said that it's not a platform that works, and man, those companies are losing out on so much money, right? So this is kind of like what most people do. They don't do any pre-work before they jump into Facebook. Or worse, this is what I call the marketing maze, which is if you go online today, there's all these experts that are telling you, go into Facebook, go do Twitter, go to LinkedIn, go to content, SEO, Pinterest, and now like everyone's like, get on Snapchat, and people are basically tearing their hair out, trying to figure out like, what do I focus on? Like, how do I make all of this work? Like you'll see people who in one day are posting on Instagram and Snapchat and YouTube, and they're writing blog articles, and if you actually like look at their business, they're not really making any money because they haven't really done the work to define exactly what they're doing. So basically from this, let's go to the 30,000 foot view. And this is what, if you look at any company, this is what a marketing and sales systems looks like. So you attract traffic to a landing page or a website where you basically tell them about your product. If people are interested, they'll give you their information, so you capture their leads, you nurture them to becoming a customer, and then if they're a great customer and they've had a great experience with you, you upsell them, and then you get referrals from them, which kind of like feeds back into this traffic. And if you look at any company in the world, I don't care if it's a small startup or if it's Apple, one of the biggest company in the world, everyone is using the same system.
Yeah, that makes lots of sense. Yeah.
Cool. So when we look at Facebook, it's really important to kind of like understand where Facebook fits in. So at the end of the day, Facebook is just a tool to get traffic. And if you're driving traffic with no idea about what's going to happen when people come to your website or landing page, you're basically lighting your money on fire. So really, before you even think about Facebook, you want to have a funnel that works. So really have a great system where you capture leads, nurture people, and turn them into customers before you start going into Facebook.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because people are like, oh, I can. The reality is that you can drive a lot of traffic easily if you spend money on Facebook, but that doesn't mean that traffic is going to do anything. It's going to convert, and obviously it's not going to convert if you don't have all the funnel or all the system in place. And it's like, oh, well, I got all this traffic. Yeah, it's great to get traffic, but that's not actually going to get you sales. So you gotta think of the whole picture. It makes sense.
Yeah, and you got to validate that you have something that people want before you even start to pay money, right? You have to begin to, we talk about this in our course. It's like there's 4 ways to validate a course, and you should do those and do a quick start and get some clients and some real money in before you even start thinking about spending money on ads.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And a great example of that actually is one of my previous clients where before they started working with me, they worked with a company that was helping them promote this commercial that they did. And so this company spent tens of thousands of dollars within a month to basically promote this commercial on YouTube as like YouTube interstitial ads. And then I asked them, okay, so how many leads did it drive, or like what happened? And I realized when they promoted the commercial, they didn't even send the traffic to a website. It was just an ad that played, and that was it. And man, they lost a lot of money.
Wow.
Because after a month, you have no idea who those people who watched the commercial were. And if you look around, like that's what most people are doing.
Yeah, not smart.
So that's a very basic thing. It's like be able to capture the traffic that you're generating, right? If you have no way to keep in touch with these people, what are you doing it for?
Hmm.
You might as well just buy a TV ad.
They did that too. They were doing billboards, but that's another story. Cool. So any questions up to this point?
I think that's pretty straightforward. It makes a lot of.
So,
I
what are
think,
some of the best ways?
yeah. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, what are some of the best ways actually for people to spend money on Facebook to test out a funnel and kind of build it out to the point where it's converting, and then you can start adding to the mix it's paid.
So Brad, to confirm, because you cut out a lot,
Yeah.
was your question that like, what is the best way for people to test Facebook and a funnel?
To the funnel before you start sending people to Facebook, from Facebook. So testing the funnel as it stands, getting it. You talked about how you want to have it converting before you start putting money into Facebook and all these other things. What are some ways to generate that traffic to start building the funnel and testing it?
Yeah, exactly. So one of the, I mean, for me, when I start creating a product or creating a campaign, right, the first thing I'm doing is I'm reaching out to people who could be potential customers and just trying to get them on calls. So it's not quantitative, but it's more qualitative, where you're really trying to understand the market before you even create a landing page and stuff. And that's what we're going to get into. But once you do that, then you can start creating landing pages because you have a hypothesis of what you think will work. And then I basically use Facebook to drive very small traffic by spending like not too much money and seeing how that works.
Great. So essentially what you're saying, Sachit, is that you're more approaching this like a scientist, right? You're performing experiments and creating hypotheses, which you then test using small amounts of money traffic into Facebook to get people to come to your landing pages to test your hypothesis on copy and the offers that might work to generate emails and traffic.
Exactly.
All right.
Cool. So let's move on to the next part, which I think is super important, which is what I call the 3M framework, which was created by Dan Kennedy, who's obviously like a master copywriter. And what Dan Kennedy basically says is when you're looking at marketing, there's three things you always want to look at. You want to look at who the market for your product is, what the message is that you're taking to the market, and then finally you look at what the medium is and kind of how you take that message to that market, right? A great example of this, actually, which I'm seeing right now happen a lot, is all the experts are telling people, get on Snapchat, get on Snapchat. That's where everyone is, get on Snapchat. But if you're selling something to people 25 years and older, your market really isn't on Snapchat right now. Like most of those people are on Facebook, and that's where business is happening. So a lot of people, what they're doing is they're sort of not doing the work of really defining their market and their message, and they're jumping straight into the medium. And that's a huge mistake because you're going to spend a lot of time and money to really make something work where your market does not even exist. So that's why this framework is super important. So let's get into it. So we'll start with market. And I'll start with my story, which is basically I started consulting in 2012, and then for the first 4 years, I helped people launch books. I helped create websites for a ball bearing company based out of Dubai. I helped launch an energy drink in India. I helped launch a music video. I worked with podcasters on sponsorships. I was working with tech startups. So I was basically like doing Facebook ads, building websites, doing funnels in Infusionsoft, and God knows what else. And when people ask me what I did, I said marketing. So really, I was basically all over the place. And then if someone wanted to refer me to their friend or something, they had no idea what to say because I was so general. So one of the things you want to do when you jump into Facebook is what I call is define your Everest, which is basically you want to pick a niche and a market that you want to focus on and really commit to getting to the top of that market. And a great example is if you look at if you have really like a health problem, and you look at a generalist doctor versus a brain surgeon. A brain surgeon is more specialized. He gets paid more. He works less, and he has more respect because he's so specialized, right? And really, like he's picked one thing that he wants to help people with and committed to becoming the best in that instead of being a generalist. So really, you want to decide who you serve and what are the 1 to 3 things that you want to help those people with. So any questions on that?
Yeah, that kind of really hits home because ultimately we're trying to climb the Everest of we want to help online course instructors to gain more students and serve the world, right? That's our Everest, and we want to be the best at that. So we really resonate with that, Sajid.
Yeah, and actually, so that's actually a great example, right? Because even when you say online course instructors, that could mean people who are teaching courses inside companies. It can mean people who are teaching courses for the fitness market. It can mean people who are teaching courses for business or all of these different kind of like areas. So how do you go down even deeper so that you're way more specific when you're talking to people and when you're targeting on Facebook?
Yeah,
That's a
right
great
now
question.
it's true. We're just catering to everybody who needs to market an online course, and the reality is we're trying to find out exactly what maybe more or most accurate Everest is, because there is people that need to create courses that want to market courses in all types of verticals, and maybe choosing a very specific type of niche is what makes a lot of sense, right? Like, okay, we could be helping people that have written a book before and want to create an online course. Like one of our students, Sue, she wrote a book on golfing, helping people improve golfing through meditation and yoga, and now she wants to write a book, and maybe that's like a more specific way of going about it. But this makes a lot of sense.
And actually, it's funny. I remember I met someone else at Mastermind Talks too, who basically I think what he does is he helps people turn their books into courses. So he has a very
Oh yeah.
specific market where he's working with authors. He's it's niched down further because he's only working with authors that have actually published books, and then he's just helping them turn that into courses because those guys already have the content, they already know what works, they already have people that are interested in what they're doing. So by defining that, he's able to charge way more and really become the best at that.
That's true. I
Smart.
actually met him, Zach Obrant, I think is his name, from Booking a
Oh
Box.
yeah, it's Tucker and Zach's
Yeah. So
startup. Yeah, total.
I remember talking to him and saying, "Do you think this would make sense for online courses? Just help people to do that." And I think they're actually working on something along those lines. Just focusing on people that already have an existing audience, and then basically creating a book or a course based on their knowledge, but they already have an audience they can launch this to, so they don't have to start from zero. So it's an interesting approach.
Exactly. And we actually have a few examples of this. So the first example is I picked Miguel's company, Groomer Media.
Yay!
And I remember I think it was like 2 or 3 or 4 years ago where I think he did a video for Alexis Ohanian. I think it was Hipmunk or Reddit or one of his
Yeah,
companies.
Hipmunk. Yeah,
And then, and you can tell the story. I think within a few months, literally every startup had a similar video that you were creating.
yeah. So that's right. We talked about this yesterday, I remember, and is that I'm also in a sense a good case study for what it is to pick your Everest, because I could have said I just do videos, marketing videos, but that's super generic. There's millions of types of different videos. I created a chart the other day, and I found like 50 different types of videos you can create: corporate videos, mission type videos, Kickstarted videos, animated videos, demo videos, promo videos. And it's like I cannot be good at all of those. It's just basically impossible. So I fell in love with one specific type of video, which is the explainer video, which in 90 seconds you can explain what a company does. And it's great for startups because they launch a product, they want to make sure people understand it right away the first time they hear about it. And I just picked a very specific niche on this very wide uh, world of videos, and it worked really well because I immediately became kind of like one of the experts in this field. But it's a lot easier to become an expert on a very narrow and small field than an expert on a very wide field. Like becoming a marketing video expert, what does that even mean, right? So, and I mean,
Yeah.
it worked for me. I immediately, within 1 month of creating a very specific video for a very specific startup in a very specific niche, I became well known in Silicon Valley. So I guess that drives home the point that picking your Everest is it's the first thing you need to do.
Yeah, and actually, I think I want to underscore something you also did, which is you didn't just say like I'm going to work with like tech startups or tech companies or whatever. So
Yeah.
you targeted a very narrow market of Silicon Valley, and then you went further and you said I'm only going to work with startups. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you did, but you probably picked a very like specific kind of startups that are kind of like companies that are just starting out, who haven't
Oh yeah,
raised too much
very.
money.
It was specifically started from Y Combinator.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a bunch of incubators, but I picked that one, and also because I liked them. I liked the story of that incubator. I liked all the startups that came out of that incubator, and Hitmon was one of them. Reddit was one of the first ones that came out of that. So I just love the story, and I was very, very specific about and deliberate about picking that niche.
And also you even picked a you were even very specialized in terms of the service you were providing, right? Like you didn't say I will do any kind of video. It was a very specific kind of explainer video, and even within explainer videos, I think the way you were doing it, the graphics and all, it had your own touch, and other people were doing it differently, but you had one way you were doing it, and all of them sort of like followed that, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Or because there's many different types of explainer videos, like so I picked actually the simplest one because at that time I didn't know how to animate. So I just picked something that I was comfortable with, and it turned out to be a style that a lot of people resonated and liked it because simplicity was just great to explain complex concepts. And now we do a lot more videos, but it's important, I guess the moral of the story is that being known on a very niche market and will allow you to attract a lot of clients, and then from there you can do other things, but at least your name is on the market, people know you, and you can do well.
Yeah, and from there you
Right.
can
And
get different
ultimately,
feature.
you get Ashton, you get Walmart, you get Microsoft. It starts with like the dividing and conquering, right? So this is a term that Derek Halpern actually coined. He calls it the divide and conquer strategy. If you're trying to be everything to everybody, you're nothing to anybody. So you start with a very small niche, and then once you dominate that niche, you can kind of build out from there. So that's how you start to get the EMCs and the Ashton Kutchers and the Fidelities. Because they see you succeeding in a very small niche, and they say, "Hey, we want to do what these startups are doing because they're pushing the envelope, they're cutting edge, and we're willing to pay the big bucks to get it done, right?" So then you start to attract those type of clients, right? But you had to start with that niche to get that foothold in the marketplace.
Yep, and another great thing that happens with this is other companies in the market will just start seeing you everywhere, right? I think in the case of Miguel, I bet he did a video for Hipmunk, and then he did it for another startup. And I'm sure there
Mhm.
were startup founders that were sitting kind of like on the sidelines thinking about doing it, and then they see one, and they see two, and three, and five, and 10. They're like, holy shit, this guy's doing videos for everyone. We have to work with him. So basically, you kind of become
Yeah.
omnipresent in that very specific marketplace.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I guess in a sense that's what you've done too, because you picked a very specific niche with podcasters, and and having Andrew Warner, which is very, very well known in that specific niche. Like a lot of people outside entrepreneurship probably have never heard about him, but anybody that's interested in entrepreneurial podcasts knows about Andrew Warner. So then other podcasters that are in a similar space immediately are like, wow, if he did ads for Andrew Warner, I gotta talk to this guy.
Exactly, and actually that kind of like
Yeah.
leads me to the
Then
next.
I guess another top podcaster like a Lewis Howes would come and say, "Hey, you did this for Andrew. I saw the results you got. We were chatting at a party. I want to hire you too," and that's how it goes.
Mhm, exactly. So coming back to sort of like my story, right? I was doing all of these different things, and last year when I learned about sort of like defining the service and picking a niche, I started focusing on just podcasters. I had basically helped Andrew close a big sponsorship deal around that time. So I ended up uh, shooting this case study with him. And I published this, and literally in less than a year, I've had conversations with some of the top podcasters in my niche, and I'm working with them. And
That's awesome.
it just came from sort of really picking this and saying, I'm not going to work with anyone else. This is my focus.
That's why I want to say that that testimonial video is beautifully shot. I work in video, and I think I already praised you. Like if anybody wants to look at a good example of a great testimonial video, both in content and quality, check out Sajid's website. It's
Sachi, could you put that up? So could you put a link to that somewhere, please?
It's on the slides. sgmedialabs.com.
Oh,
It's
yeah. Perfect.
If you just go to sgmedialabs.com/mixergy, it'll come up. And thank you for saying that. I mean, seeing the videos you've done, that means a lot coming from you.
Yeah. Well, I do animated videos, but I also have experience with live action videos, and you can tell when something is done with taste and well done. So good for you. Because and the great thing is that you only really need one known personality with a big audience to really kickstart a business. It's the same with me. I only had one client when I started, was Hipmunk, but it was well enough recognized that people didn't care I didn't have any previous experience. They're like, if you work with them, I want to work with you, right? So like, if you work with Andrew Warner, people want to work with you, even if it's just your first client ever.
Exactly. And I think another thing that happens when you do this is a lot of us when we're doing sales, right, we'll get all these objections like, how long have you been working, like, or ready to go to college? What's your resume? What's your background? And all of these different things. And it's really interesting that once you establish this, no one cares. Like, I don't think any of my clients know where I went to college, or even if I graduated or anything. No one's asked me for
they ultimately don't care about the answers to the questions. They're just looking for a reason to make it easier for them to say no to you based on whatever you say, right? So like ultimately that's not the question they're asking. They're asking is are you the right choice for me, Sachi, right? Are you the right choice? And if they think that, Andrew hiring you is a good enough credibility indicator, they're going to hire you too, especially if you've gotten these kind of results.
Exactly.
And I just, people all say, oh, it's only your network. They want to make up all kinds of excuses why this is not possible for them. Really, it just comes down to calling your shot, making a list of your dream 100 clients, and then going after each and every one of them. Somebody's going to say yes. As long as you consistently learn and refine your approach, one of these people will give you a shot. And if you get results for them, work your ass off, then you can use that as a testimonial or a client case study that will help you attract other clients, as Sachit has done here.
Exactly, and I kind of underscore that too because, like, I am no one special. I grew up in India. I moved to the U.S. 10 years ago with no connections, and then I moved to the Bay Area about 5 years ago, and I literally didn't know anyone. And all it took was like sending people cold emails and offering to work for free to kind of just get my foot in the door to now working with the people I'm working with. And I think, Miguel, you weren't in Silicon Valley, right, when you were doing the videos?
Yeah, and I've never been.
He actually cold emailed Alexis Ohanian and the Reddit team, and that's how, or the Hipmunk team, and that's how he got in the door there. He just made him a video and said, here, enjoy, and they loved it.
Yeah, exactly. I was willing to do something, give a lot of value without asking for anything in return, only to people that I really admire and I wanted to work with. And so I use, a similar approach. It's just reach out to the top people in your industry, impress them. And the reality is that it's true. Not all of them are going to react positively or going to do anything, but you just have to keep trying. And if you get better, you refine your approach, and it probably is I think it's one of the best strategies to move ahead fast in any industry.
I think one is like all you need is one person to open that door for you.
Yeah.
And once you have that, it doesn't take that much to kind of just get everyone, because nothing, like, I don't care what you're selling. If you're selling services or a course or a book or whatever, nothing gets you clients faster than case studies and results of what you've done for other people.
All right. So now tying back, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, I thought this was about Facebook ads. Where are the Facebook ads?
Yeah.
And
that's such an important thing, though. It's so important.
But we're gonna get to it. By the way, to everybody that is listening, we're gonna give a very specific example of how to create a Facebook ad. But what we're trying to make here is a very important point that before you spend that first advertising dollar, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram or on Google Ads or YouTube Ads, whatever it is, there is a lot of work that has to be done before. So, and that's why most of this presentation, it's making a big point that you have to find exactly what your target market is, who your avatar is. And now Sajid is actually going to help us go through the actual process of uncovering who that avatar is. Is that right?
Yep, perfect. Yeah, so we'll get to Facebook ads in a bit. There's a few more things, but yeah, let's get on with it. So the next thing is when you're thinking of defining your Everest, right? Here's just a few things you should look at. You should look at that industries that you know. You should look at skills that you're good at, and then kind of like what are the problems in the market, and try to figure out sort of like where does all this intersect. For me, it ended up being podcasting. For you, it might be creating courses in the health niche, but you really want to work on this and really think about this. So once you have this, the next thing we're doing is we're defining our message. And when we're thinking of defining your message, a lot of people are thinking about, okay, let's jump into Power Editor, let's start writing up the ads, and let's start doing all of these things. No, we're not doing that yet. What we're going to do is we're going to do what the copywriters back in the 60s, like Ogilvy, used to do, is we really need to first step away from the computer and really think about who our market is and what their problems are and how do you help them and what are their pains and desires before we even write our first ad. So basically you want to first, as we talked about in defining your market, you want to know your niche, and then you want to know, within your niche, you want to know like the problems, pains, and desires of the people so that you can basically speak the language of people in their niche. A great example actually is Miguel and I were talking about someone you guys are working with who does stuff in golf, right?
Yes.
Yes. And I was trying to come up with a headline, and all I could come up with was how to improve your golf game and improve your score by -1, because I have no idea about how golf works. So I can't speak the language. But really, if you do all of this work of like knowing the niche, knowing the problems, knowing what people want, then you can start speaking people's language and they will respect you way more. So a few things to look at is you could look at BuzzSumo, you can look at books in your market, you can look at like who are the influencers, and you can look at Twitter. Actually, let's do a quick live example.
Great.
Let's try this. Let's go to BuzzSumo and see what comes up.
BuzzSumo.
So do you guys want to test a market, or should I just pick one here?
You could do the golfing one since I know Sue is going to be watching this later. She couldn't join this call, but she was really interested in learning how to leverage Facebook ads.
Okay, so right now I just searched golf, and this is kind of like giving me an idea of golf, right? This isn't very helpful because it's about abandoned Japanese golf courses and all. So let's search improve golf swing. See, I was going to search improve golf game, but I guess that's what people say is improving golf swing. So when you look here, right, you're kind of like seeing the kinds of article that people are posting. Here's a great example, which is improving ankle, whatever this is, for a better golf swing. Go to improve back foot footwork in golf swing. So if you're not in the market, you have no idea what these things mean. But really, like, these are the things that people are thinking about. 9 reasons you should be using pressure measuring devices to improve your golf swing. So for someone who's not in the market, this doesn't really make any sense. But if you're in the market, you kind of like are getting a feel for what kind of things that people are looking at, what kind of articles that people are looking at. Right? So another example, let's try like how to market online course. I'll just say market online course. So now if you're looking at this thing, there's a lot of articles. Like this article has 2,000 shares. How to generate more leads with content marketing. Modern online marketing education. And so top free online courses for digital marketers. So it kind of like gives you an idea of what the market is talking about from BuzzSumo. And like I said, like you want to look at BuzzSumo, you want to look at books in the market, you want to look at who the influencers are and what they're talking about. So really, you're doing a lot of research at this stage. And then what happens is once you do this research, you can get really, really specific. So just as an example for me, before a year ago, I was telling people I do marketing. And now if someone asks me, what do you do? I say, I help podcasters and entrepreneurs grow their audience and get more leads using Facebook, and I work with some of the best in the business. And if you're thinking of hiring someone, who would you guys want to work with here?
I want to work with you, Sachit.
And the thing is that I want to work with you if I'm a podcaster and entrepreneur. So it's because it's very specific, right? You're not trying to do marketing for everybody in the world.
Yeah, you're almost like you're
Yeah.
ringing like a dog whistle that's specifically tuned to the people that you want to work with.
Exactly. And so when you're doing this, unless you get these fundamentals right about picking the market and having a really core message, you can spend thousands of dollars on Facebook and it will not work for you. Because I have seen clients who've done that. They'll work with someone else, spend a lot of money on Facebook, and nothing works, and they'll come to us, and we do this work. And as soon as we hit Facebook, it just starts working because we're very clear about who we're targeting. So getting into sort of like how to define a message, here are a few of the things that we use. The first is these audience research questions. And again, I didn't create these myself. This has kind of like been taken from Dan Kennedy and a lot of different people. But just a few examples is thinking about like, what do you do? Who is your ideal customer? What is their problem they're facing? What are they afraid of? What are their top frustrations? What do they secretly desire the most? Why do people buy your product? What's the big promise that you're offering? What are the trends that are happening in their lives? Do they have their own language? Like we were looking at golf, right? Like people were talking about all of these things that I honestly had no idea what they meant. But for someone in golf, they know what it means. Looking at like who else has tried selling them something similar and how has it worked and how has it not worked. So you want to look at all of these different things. The other thing you want to do is you want to come up with client avatars. So really, you want to, in your head or on paper, come up with 1 to 3 different people that you're targeting and get really specific in terms of like how much do they make, what do they do, how do they spend their week, their history, what's happened in their past, their family life, their relationship, why does your product matter to this person, how does it solve a need or a pain for them. So we want to really like look at all of these things. And basically, once you do that, and you want to come up with this, what I call is the I help statement. So basically, you want to be very specific in terms of who you help. So I help audience. What do you help them with? So do benefit, and how you help them through how you help. So really, like for example, for me, it's I help podcasters get more leads and grow their audience through Facebook, for example. And there you can kind of mention a case study. So again, before you look at Facebook, you want to come up with this for your market. Questions on this?
Yeah, I have a question, Sachit. If you go back to the previous slide, so to come up with the avatar, you have to have answers to all these questions. But I imagine a lot of people, they actually don't know. They're like, yeah, well, I have an idea, general idea of people, how people are in this market, but I don't have really specific answers to those. So what do you do in that situation when you don't really know what the answer is?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. So what I would do is with these and this, I would start by just sort of sitting with paper and really like, if you're in the market, then you know these things, right? Like if you've sort of done something in that market before, we're going to start doing this. But then honestly, you should call, email at least 50 to 100 people in your market and try and just get them on the phone and tell them you're doing research and ask them these questions.
Okay, so instead of just guessing, you literally get on the phone and try to uncover who are these people and what are their actual needs.
Exactly. So just as an example, I think it was 2 years ago where I was sort of looking at different markets that I wanted to work in. For some reason, I ended up picking trade shows. So I went on LinkedIn, I joined a few groups for trade shows, and I just started sort of connecting with people who I thought would look like they knew what they were talking about, right, in the groups. And I started sending them messages saying, like, I'm doing research into the industry, I'm trying to understand what the problems are. And I messaged a lot of people that didn't reply to me, but then one person ended up replying. I got on a call with him. We sort of connected, and then he connected me to someone else. And that person connected me to someone else, and literally within a few months, I had talked to some of the big players in that industry and come up with an idea for a product that actually could have done really well. So you do have to do the hard work of really like trying to connect with people and ask them these questions. And the more you do it, the better your targeting is going to be.
That makes so much sense. Leveraging
So
your network.
I have just two quick things to add to this. I think the main theme that you have to realize is that this takes a lot of empathy. A lot of people want to like say that marketing is shady or slimy or this or that, and that they have a lot of like limiting beliefs about marketing. But really, marketing is all about having empathy for your client. Typically, it's somebody who you used to be, who you're solving problems for, right? That's the person that you're solving their problem because you've solved it for yourself and now you're helping others solve their problem. But if you're going to serve a market, you got to really be able to listen to market and ask the right questions and get the right answers so that you can serve them at the highest level. And that's what all of this is about, right? All of economics is about solving people's problems and serving them at a high level in exchange for, valuable currency in this case, right? There's a great book that Ryan Levesque just put out in the last year called Ask, which is another great resource of questions to ask, and I'm sure a lot of these or similar versions of them are in there as well. But this is so important to understand, guys. Like, you have to fall in love and really like understand at the deepest level the needs, fears, wants, desires, and the ways you can help the people that you serve.
Definitely. And Ask is a great book. Definitely recommend that.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Ask, and we'll find out what people actually want.
It's a simple thing, but people they get it wrong because they think it's bigger than that, right? They think it's some complicated trick. It's not a trick. You're just asking people what they want.
Awesome.
And the other thing I learned is if you go to people with if you go to people and tell them that you're not trying to sell to them, you just want to do research and learn about their problems, they will literally open their hearts to you because a lot of people are sort of working right now, right? Like, they're just trying to like make things happen. Nothing's working for them. And all people want is someone who listens to them. So if you approach people with the right empathy and show them that you actually care, literally they will sort of open their network, and it's kind of insane. As an example, when I did the thing with the trade shows, I had never met these people in person. They were literally connecting with me with like the CEOs of the top companies who do installations for Google and all these big companies. I was traveling to India. He connected me with one of the biggest players for trade shows in India. And this person, we only met in person once. But just because I showed him that I cared about the industry and that I had ideas that I could bring to it, it was amazing.
Yeah. Cool.
It only takes one, right? I mean, yeah, it only takes one, right? I mean, ultimately, like, how many people you really need to know at a high level in an industry before you know everybody, because they're connected to everybody, right?
Exactly.
That's great. Do you have any? Sorry, go ahead.
I was just similar to like what Miguel did. He got Alexis Ohanian, and then he just connected him with everyone.
Yeah. No, that's what another thing is, like, when you reach out to somebody that's super connected, making a good impact in that person, it has a wide further reaching impact than just that individual, right? So, like, yeah, I think it's just great, just reach out to people in the industry that have a lot of influence, and then just show genuine curiosity to learn more about what their struggles are. And it's funny because now that I go back in my history, it's not the first time I've done that. Before I started Grumo Media, I wanted to learn about what it took to work on Hollywood or in big movie sets, and what was this whole thing, what happened behind the big screen, right? And I could have just gone to film school and spent tens of thousands of dollars trying to learn all of that. But I thought, you know what, I've already gone to school, I don't want to do this again. What would be the fastest way for me to learn how a big budget movie film set works, like what goes behind the big screen? And so I thought, okay, I reached out to this photographer that was well known in Vancouver, and I said, you must know somebody on the industry that works in Hollywood films, because in Vancouver they shoot a lot of Hollywood films. And he said, yeah, I know this guy, his name is so and so, and he's the top set designer for Hollywood movies in Vancouver. And he's like, this is the phone number. Just talk to him. Ask him any questions you want about Hollywood. I'm like, so I went and I asked him, hey, what is this like? And he's like, you know what? Why don't you come to our set tomorrow? I was like, are you kidding? Yeah, like a big multi-million-dollar Hollywood set. So I show up there, and I don't know if you've heard of this movie. It's called White Chicks. And
Yep.
so it was shot in Vancouver, and I spent 4 days there. I was the only person that was not working on that movie. I was just a pure observer, and in 4 days I learned so much about how a movie is made that I would probably never learn it in years, just trying to do little movies here and there. So that just shows when you just ask people in your network, people are, if you just show genuine curiosity, it's amazing how well people respond to that.
Yeah, and you don't have an agenda. You're not trying to sell them anything. You're just saying, hey, I really have an earnest desire to learn this game. Like, tell me, who to talk to. Who do I talk to? Who can I ask questions of? And that opens the whole world up to you. And then from that, you gain experience, which allows you to then, branch out to a larger audience if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
That's an
awesome.
amazing story. Yeah.
That's an awesome story, Miguel.
Yeah, and I said it was just crazy. I sat down with the DOP because I wanted to learn about movie, like camera work, and the DOP was the guy that did movie Monster with Charlize Theron. I was sitting with him, literally having lunch, and it was like my first time on a movie set. I'm like, it's just amazing when you really ask people things. Yeah. So anyway, that's the moral of the story.
So
I think one point
I
I
want
want
to open up.
is really quick is, so when you went to the movie set, right? Like, you didn't have a list of specific questions to ask them or anything, right? You were just sort of trying to connect with them. So
Yeah,
these
I just
questions
wanted
are
to learn. Yeah.
Yeah, these are just examples. Like, you don't want to. These are just sort of like examples to get started, and these questions are nothing special, right? Like, the more important thing is actually doing it than asking these specific questions. Basically, what you're trying to do here is just understand and learn about the market.
Yeah.
So I want to open it up. If anybody has questions, I see you guys out there. I can hear you breathing. I see Anna, Javier, Michael, Peter. Everybody who's out there in the background listening and kind of.
I
If you have
know.
any questions, please jump in. I would love to hear and answer your questions, guys.
Yeah,
and we're
for
going to keep
sure.
moving.
Guys, if you let me launch this poll with Lich poll. Attendees now viewing in progress. All right. So I just launched a little quick poll where I'm asking how much experience people have on Facebook. I know Peter Mueller. He I talked to him, and he tried to do Facebook ads, and he had some issues with his ads being rejected. But if you have any questions regarding ads, Peter, make sure to ask them, and we'll do our best to answer them. The same
So
with
it looks like about a quarter of you have very little experience. They're still trying to figure it out. Some of you've created some Facebook ads, and very few of you would rank in the novice category. You have none, and some of you none of you rank in the a lot. I have several. So most people are kind of in the middle. Like, they have a little bit of experience, but they don't really feel that comfortable with it.
Oh, there you go. Everybody answered right away. This works. Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, guys. You're awesome. We love you. We appreciate you.
All right. Well, let's move. If we see any questions, we'll ask you, Sajid. But for now, let's just move on because we're getting to the end of the hour here. Just time flies.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah,
All right,
seriously.
So now, actually, so we're coming back to this statement we had talked about, right? You want to come up with a statement which is, I help audience do benefit through how you do it, and come up with an example. So just a quick recap of what we've done so far. We discussed the 30,000 feet view of the processes, why it's important to define your Everest, how to really discover your market's needs and desires, and how to construct your message, which is this, and your offer. And really, the three things you need before you start creating your first Facebook ad is an idea of your market, your message and offer, and also you want to have a process to convert people from cold traffic to students. So with that, actually, this is my favorite part. Miguel and I had discussed basically doing a live example of creating a Facebook ad for someone. So let's jump into that.
All right.
So do we have someone who we want to do it for, or do you want to do it for you? we just come up with something.
We could do. I'm just
You
curious.
do
I
ours if
mean,
you want. On market
we
your
can do
course.
we
Maybe
can
we
do
have a back end of
ours.
that.
I was gonna do Sue, but she's not here. Um, we could try Peter. I don't know if he wants to do this. I would ask to. Okay, I'm planning to advertise. Okay, there's a question here from Peter. Let's see what he says. I'm planning to advertise one of our company's website. We're in the relationship training market in 5 years. We are real and registered Hungarian company. We have real and well-trained colleagues and more than 2,000 satisfied customers. A lot of positive testimonials. I know the relationship topic is very sensitive to advertise on Facebook. Therefore, I would like to ask your advice. Please look at our website and our ads, and please let us know if we violate any of the Facebook ad policies in anything. Oh, okay. Well, I can send you the link to his website because I have it. And if you have any feedback, you can let us know.
So actually, what I would say to that is like, because I don't decide, right? Like I might think something is okay, but it might not be. The best way to handle that is just message people on Facebook support, and before you start running their ads, just message them saying like, this is the ad we're running, this is the thing, and just ask them if it's okay. So as an example, we're about to launch ads for a client within sort of like fitness, and our plan is once we create the ads, before we put anything live, we're going to message support, Facebook support, and show them every ad and get their permission before we run this.
Right, because it shows you that you're professional, that you care, that you're paying attention to the policies. You're not looking to create more work for them. You know, you're actually being a good guy about it. And then you're building relationships with people at Facebook who actually make these decisions.
Exactly. And I think, Miguel, you said he's in the dating market, right?
Yeah, relationship, specifically for women, helping them finding like real qualified partners.
So it might be a bit different, but I do know people who've done ads in the past in the dating market, and really like what I heard was it was really good a few years ago, and then basically Facebook has just started cracking down a lot on that.
Yeah, so it's getting, and why is that? I mean, I guess they have their own reasons, right? It makes sense. There's probably a lot of scammy websites trying to advertise on Facebook. I guess his problem is that his website, and I've seen it, is completely legit, and he's actually providing a really valuable service to
Let's look it up. What's the
women.
website?
What was this? It's called Hottie. Dot.
Adi?
Uh,
Is it this one?
yeah, that one. Yeah, Hottie.hu from Hungary.
I think you might have
Adi.
actually told me about it before. So
Yeah, it's already
let's,
loaded up in your Chrome. So
so let's translate and see what this is. Have you ever tried to mend?
And I actually saw his website. He's got like literally hundreds of super positive testimonials from women that have used this site, and it really is unfortunate that Facebook keeps shutting down his ads.
Yeah, so I think one of the things is like on his website here, I don't see sort of like testimonials on the homepage. I would add that you do have a privacy policy and stuff. One of the things you can do is you can insert a message at the bottom. I don't have the exact message, but basically saying like Facebook is not endorsing this website. They like
Yeah.
seeing
yeah,
that.
that's smart.
Um,
Yeah.
let's see what else. Yeah, to be honest, this just looks like a stock image,
Yeah.
right? And then it's just text. So I don't know if this is like a real person or a real company when I look at the homepage at least.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
having more
there's,
testimonials, having more real people, I think
I
that
guess
would
you
be
have
helpful.
to, yeah, probably need to create an account before you start seeing testimonials. So, I guess so Facebook looks at your website to see where you're directing people and then makes a decision also, not just based on your ad, but also based on the destination.
Yeah, I think
Yep.
I mean, again, you don't know exactly because their stuff changes and the algorithm is also sort of like
Yeah.
a black box, but yeah, they're looking at everything.
Basically, you gotta reach out to them and say, "Hey, listen, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm trying to do. We're legit." Tell them what you just told us, right? And then say, "Hey, how can we make our website and our ads conform to what you guys are trying to do? Listen, we get it. Like, don't be adversarial. Just be like, listen, we get it. There's a lot of scammy, smarmy kind of relationship stuff going on, and you're trying to avoid that. But we think we have a real, positive image and a helpful service that we provide for people, and we want to advertise on Facebook. How do we make sure that we meet the guidelines?
Yeah, and I think the one main thing this homepage is missing is actual like one is like just like real testimonials. I mean, you want to create fake ones, obviously, and also information about what the company is or anything. Because all I see is just this landing page. There's no
Yeah.
about section. There's no
He,
contact
he,
section.
he says the
There's nothing.
testimonials are there, but not on the homepage. So there, like, you have to type /sales.php. But yeah, I guess if it's
Yeah,
not the first,
People don't do that research. I mean, if think of
yeah,
how
exactly. So think
visit a
about
website.
how many thousands of people go through and put up ads every day
exactly.
that they have to look through. Make
So
it easy for them.
Yeah, I mean, even if you like look at like when you're going to a website, right? People
yeah,
make a decision within a few seconds whether they want to like read this stuff or not. And when I see this, and again, I actually I don't know if the translations are right or not, but when I come here, I'm like, okay, I don't really know what this is about, and I'll just close it, to be honest.
yeah. So Peter, we don't have much time to like do a one-on-one consultation here, but I guess the takeaway from here is that before you send them an ad, you ask them. Apparently, you can ask them before if that is it
Yeah,
complies
what does
with
that look
their
like, Sashi? Like, how do you actually do that? Like, can you go into
There's
Facebook
a,
real quick and just show us where?
yeah.
I don't know exactly where. There's a support section, and they keep moving it around, but there's basically a section where you can message their ads team. Let's see if you can find it here. Because
Oh, he says
what does he
he
say?
says he said he tried that.
And
Oh,
what does it say?
I don't know. They didn't reply to you, Peter?
I mean, you just gotta keep messaging them then,
Yeah.
or you
you
put
can't
the ad
ignore your
up and
friends.
hope you put the ad
Yeah,
up and hope
exactly.
they approve it. I mean, there's a chat thing here.
Oh, here you go.
Right?
Yeah, facebook.com/business/resources, and then go to the chat.
You can do a disapproved
Yeah.
ad, and I'm not gonna click this because it's gonna. I don't know what ad accounts it's gonna show here.
Yeah.
There you go.
Anyways, Peter, you gotta keep trying. But now we're gonna keep moving on and do a sample ad for those that have never done an ad, just so they have a quick idea of what it takes to create an ad. So up to this point, we've done basically all the work that actually Sachi does when a new customer comes to his company. He actually does all of this research together with the client to lead up to this moment. But before he creates the ad, he's done all of this homework before. And now let's assume that you've done all your homework, you know who your audience is, you can fill in this sentence. I help these people to do something through this whatever. So like I help, let's say, golfers that are over 40 years old to be able to swing, a lot better.
Actually, why don't we do what you guys are doing? Because when we started, you guys said you're working with course creators, which was very general. So let's
Yeah.
try and work with your guys' example because you obviously know it, and we can ask you questions
Yeah.
and get more specific.
So this is great actually. So I've been cranking on this while before you even said that. I was actually thinking like, okay, who could it be? So I
First, you said you
help
had.
entrepreneurs, authors, or you could be, yeah, I'm thinking we even get more niche, right? So entrepreneurs, authors, and thought leaders create and market online courses
So
through the
let's
use of webinars and sales funnels.
so let's get more specific, right? Like, so you have entrepreneurs, authors, and whatever. What if we just
Yeah.
focus on authors to start with, and even like you can
Okay.
say Amazon authors or something like that, or New York Times best-selling authors.
Yeah.
You guys want to
Actually,
do that?
yeah.
So are you? I help you. We help. I'll just say published authors for now,
Okay.
right? So
Sure.
what is the benefit they're looking for? Like, what are you helping them with? And
Well,
this has to be a result, right? Like,
Right.
oh, a result, not the actual thing. Because what we have them do is create an online course, but that's not what's the
That's not
benefit of
really
having an online course?
right. So create a profitable online course or a profitable revenue stream for their business through online courses. Is that more in the
yeah. So we help. I help, or I'm going to change this we for you guys. We help publish authors create, let's say, an additional revenue stream,
Mhm.
right? Because that's what you guys are doing. Let's change the font here so it fits in this. Through online
courses.
courses. And you can even
That's
say
very
here,
specific.
and you can even get more specific here, saying, and this is an example from Book in the Box, which they say Book in the Box is the company that helps people turn their ideas into books, right? And they say very specifically, you only need to spend 12 hours. So you can actually say through online courses within
60 days.
Within 60 days, right? So now let's see here. Do you guys have an example?
Of like a case study, you mean?
Yeah.
Of somebody we've done this for?
So let's just say we'll just make it up. We helped John Smith convert his New York Times best-selling book into a course and generate 100,000 in 16 days. Cool?
Yeah.
And again, this is just an example, but like this is something you guys can, or you guys would want to do, right? If this is the market you're focusing on.
Yeah, if we got that result, that would be pretty awesome for John Smith.
Okay, perfect. So now the next thing, so now we're going to basically do all the steps we did for that market, right? So the first step is really like defining your market. So for this, what we use is called the Business Audience Insights tool. So I'll just open that up. So I have it open up here. So now, because you're very specific about who you're helping, right? Like John Smith, he's an author. So you can start thinking, okay, like what are the kinds of things an author is interested in? So he's probably interested in Kindle, right? So you're basically, what you're doing here is you're building a list of interests on Facebook that you can target. He's probably interested in other authors. So let's say Seth Godin, Tim. And then another thing you can do is if you go here and you click on page likes, it shows you other kinds of things that people in that market might be interested in. So you have like all of these things here. Some of these actually don't really make sense. I think it's because of the Amazon Kindle. So let me remove that. Yeah, some of these are weird. That's weird. I'm just going to refresh this. Some of the things that are coming up is usually not what comes. Oh, that's right.
There you go.
Yeah, something's going on because usually it's not artists. Like Lil Twist is not someone you want to target. Let's try another one.
We broke Facebook, guys. That's our first.
Okay, so Amy Porterfield, right? Like because she has a course on creating courses and stuff. So you can see like if someone's interested in Amy Porterfield, they're probably interested in digital marketer. He's probably interested in Success Magazine and all of these different things, right? So people you're targeting are probably interested in these things. So basically what you're doing here is you're building a list of interests to target. A great thing you can also do is if you go on Facebook and go to one of these interests, let's say you click like here, it will show you other interests that you can look at. So let's say that person's probably interested in Ryan Dice, he's probably interested in Social Media Examiner. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What you want to do is you want to build a list of about 20 to 30 audiences that you want to test. And this is a live example of something I've done for myself. So when I do an ad, in terms of interest, I'll start with these. Sort of like, depending on your budget, start with 10 to 20 different interests and just put your ad out towards that interest. You're going to let it run for a few days and then see which ones are working, which ones are not, and shut off the stuff that's not working. So that's how you come up with audience ideas, right? And the reason you can now get really specific here is because you did this work. And actually, another thing you could probably do is if someone's a published author, you can think about softwares they use. So I know one software that a lot of authors use is, let's see if it comes up, is Scrivener software.
Yeah, that's a great one.
So this, unfortunately, it does have a big audience. It doesn't show you a lot of like affinity stuff, but let's see, someone's an author, they're probably using Infusionsoft, right?
Or Evernote.
Yeah, target the tools your target market is probably using. That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. And you can, in Facebook, you can do kind of like conjunctive targeting too. So you can say, show me people who have an interest in this author and also have an interest in this tool. So let's say you go with someone who likes like Tim Ferriss and also likes a tool, that probably will work really well. So that's the kind of stuff you want to do. Yeah, this is really interesting. They're putting Colgate and Samsung and BET awards here.
That's totally has nothing to do with Tim Ferriss.
Yeah, or any of these tools.
Yeah, or any of these tools. Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So that's the first step you want to do, right? Once you do that, you want to start, once you build up this list of audiences, you're going to start creating your first ad. These are the things that go into Facebook. So now I'm going to actually come back to this slide here, which is looking at old sales letters, right? So marketing, if you look at it, hasn't changed in years, right? It's like people are still following the same principles. And when you look at angles or where you're putting in an ad, the same angles still work, right? So what we're going to do is actually, let's create two ads, two different ads of like with two different angles, right? So the first angle I use is called basically highlighting the pain. So we have this thing here, right? So we're going to move into this thing called Ad Parlor, which I use to just sometimes create mockups. And let's create our first ad here. So you guys' thing is market your course, right?
Yes, market your course.
Company. So now, when you're doing the first message here, right, you can literally call out who you're targeting. So you can say, are you a published author struggling to add more revenue? Or struggling to convert your audience to more revenue? Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
Because if you're a published author and you see this on Facebook, you're going to click on it.
Totally.
Because it's so specific to the problem that you have, right? Call to action, we usually just pick learn more. The heading can be something like published author, ad. And you want to be careful with numbers. Sometimes Facebook is not very happy, but you can say add more recurring revenue to your business, right? And then you can say get the exact step-by-step process we use to turn your book into an online course to get you tens of thousands of dollars in additional revenue every month, right? So now we've gotten very specific. You can say book to course experts. This stuff doesn't matter that much. The main thing, honestly, that matters in Facebook is the image and sort of the headline. And to select an image, what I like to do is I just go to Google, friend, and say, I'll just search book to course. So I just kind of like look at what you're helping people with. I'll remove this summit thing here. So I'll just search book to course. And I'll just see like if there's an image that kind of like catches my eye. If there isn't, we'll create one. So let's see. So actually I'm curious, like, if you guys have...
There you go. How do you turn your book into a multimedia course?
Where is it?
Down on the left there. It had a guy's name on it. Yeah, down to the left.
That's actually my thumbnail right there. I created that.
Wait, which one
This one? There you go, Guru Media.
That's my how to write and publish your first book. But that has nothing to do with online courses. That's one of my students.
Oh, this one.
That's funny.
Oh, got it. Yeah. So really, like, what you're looking for is like something that catches your eye, right? So you could search book to revenue, maybe. So I think this actually would be something that's really interesting is if you take this image, right, and you put like a book on here and an online course on the like a book here and an online course because it really like shows what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll just go with this image for now.
that's very similar to Zero to Launch has a very similar logo.
Yeah,
Mm.
so we'll just go to browse, link, do this.
And the name of the software you're using right now is called Ad Parlor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Ad Parlor. They have an ad mockup generator. It's just simply when I'm trying to come up with ad ideas, I'll use this. Usually, honestly, I just do it on paper because nothing beats paper. But this is a good way to see what something will look like. So there's
Totally.
a first. Right, and then like if you see this on Facebook and you're an author, you're gonna click on it.
I know. It's interesting when once you see it happening in real life. Like, I would totally want to know more about this. And that's the thing. A lot of published authors are like, how do I monetize my existing audience? Like, I have no idea. This also would happen. Also, I'm just coming up with an idea with people that own YouTube channels with big audiences. Monetizing YouTube is really hard through ads.
Yeah, you
So.
could literally turn this into.
But
Are
a
you
lot of these people are continuously teaching stuff. They're really good on camera, but they don't know what it takes to create a course and how to monetize it.
And you can
Right.
literally just change
Wow.
this here. Are you a YouTube video? I don't know what they call themselves. YouTuber.
YouTuber, yeah.
Struggling
Yeah.
to convert audience to
That,
more
you
revenue.
know what? That is actually just an amazing idea right there. Because
Just think
there's,
about like Casey Neistat putting out a course on how to make videos. It would crush.
oh yeah, that
Also,
would. He doesn't need it now because he's so famous. But anybody on, yeah, they create any, yeah, teach anything because they're actually really good teachers out there that don't monetize. They have no idea how to create a funnel, and they already have the audience. They
yeah.
have
So this is
large
one
audiences.
ad angle, right? With the pain. Actually, what you mentioned about Casey Neistat is really interesting because let's go to the other angle that I use a lot, which is like a case study angle, and we can switch to the YouTube thing and talk about Casey Neistat, right? So let's assume there's someone who works with Casey Neistat and helped him add a lot more in revenue, right? So the ad can literally be this: are you a YouTuber struggling with this? See how I helped. And this obviously does not have to be Casey Neistat; it can be anyone, right? So let's say I have case ad. Within 60 days. Go here and you just search Casey
All right,
Neistat.
let's get in touch with Casey Neistat right away.
Yeah, let's send him a nice big package of cookies and a note.
Actually, this is a really interesting image. Check this out. So if you like use this image, which has like money and stuff, I don't know if you guys were gonna this to be honest, but let's just go.
That would convert like bananas.
You go here and you put this on here, close this, and you just literally change the headline to case study.
That's awesome.
How
That's
case
I love to see this because I really want to click on that ad right now. It's like-
Neistat added $10,000
I'm gonna take a screenshot of this just because it's so hilarious.
recurring revenue. By the way, I should mention I don't know Casey. This is a test, so like people please don't like send it to him and be like this guy is
No.
whatever. But do you see here like how quickly, because we're very clear on like who we're helping, we just created this ad. And again, to create, and you just go here we used to turn your YouTube channel into an online course to give you tens of thousands of dollars in additional revenue every month.
Done.
And you just
Very
change that
specific. It's very clear. It's
and
great. I
change
love
that
it.
to YouTube
That
course.
reminds me, I haven't seen any of our ads on Facebook. We shouldn't show them here because we're past the hour. But I like to compare this approach to what we're doing already, and obviously our ads are converting pretty well already. But I don't know how specific we are about our message, which is an interesting question.
Yeah, our ads are actually converting like gangbusters, but we're not sure we can scale because I don't know if we're as specific as we need to be. We're going to definitely go to the matches on this one and think about, okay, who can we really target? Because ultimately you can target multiple types of people, but you got to get so niche that it calls them out specifically.
Exactly. And because this will influence coming back to the audience thing, right? So now if I come back here, I can do like, can go and say like Casey. Um, let's see if it probably is an interest. It's interesting they put him as an author.
It's not.
So you can see like all of these interests, right? Because if you're targeting, let's say like you're targeting YouTubers, they're probably following the best people.
Yeah.
And if you can actually use one of the best person's image on an ad, like I've been able to do with Andrew, it just converts really, really well.
And we have one of the top YouTubers on our team, Jake Larson, who did a webinar. And if you guys haven't checked it out yet, I recommend you watch it. But like this could plug right into a YouTube strategy really easily.
Yeah, because their YouTubers are obviously there. So maybe for YouTubers, advertising on YouTube makes more sense than Facebook, for instance.
You could do both for sure.
Here's sort of the head fake of this whole presentation, which is it's actually not about Facebook.
Yeah.
Everything you discuss is about pure business and marketing fundamentals. Because if you get this right, you can go to any channel, you can go to Facebook or Instagram or whatever you want and make it work. But you have to get these fundamentals right. And it also gives you a way to really, like, if you're looking at a channel, see if you should spend time on it, right? So, like, let's say you're targeting plumbers or electricians. You look at Snapchat, you can literally say, this market is not on Snapchat, go away. If you're targeting surgeons, can literally decide, are surgeons on Facebook or LinkedIn? They're probably on LinkedIn, so just go to LinkedIn. So by being very specific about who you're targeting and what you're targeting them with, it gives you a way to decide what channel to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
Because I will tell you this, like a lot of people tell you like, okay, do all of these things. You can literally build a 7-figure business by just focusing on one channel. Like if you're doing courses for, let's say like authors or this kind of market, you can build a big business with just Facebook.
And it's just because the other thing is if you're charging like $1,000 for your course, you don't need thousands of people to make over 6 figures. You need just 100 people a year to make 6 figures. So 100 people in any niche, I mean, if it's even very, very small, there's more than 100 people for sure. So think about, for example, you could even be more concrete on YouTubers that specialize on science videos, and you still get maybe like 1,000 of people that you could be very specific about, and yeah, it's makes so much sense.
And a lot of the things stay the same. It's not like you have to create an entire course for each one of these people. Like a lot of the fundamentals are going to be the same, but the way you target and then bring people in and then make the flavoring essentially for their particular need and problem, right? They could take this course and get a lot of value out of it, but if we make it very specific to them and then call them out and bring it to them, right, they wouldn't have bought it otherwise, but now that they're in, they're going to get a lot of value out of it. So there's multiple ways to target multiple different types of very niche people who are going to easily pay $1,000+ to solve their problem, right? There's so many YouTubers out there, for example, which is a great example, and this is awesome, Sachi, that would pay $1,000 to learn how to monetize and make potentially tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands off their audience, because that's what they're trying to do. That's the reason they're building their YouTube channel to begin with. Whether they say it out loud or not, it's like, hey, I want to make money off of this too.
You know what? I already know who I'm going to do this for. One of my animators have a humongous YouTube channel. It's going to be a great case study.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it's all about like getting specific, right? I mean, obviously this is just a start, but by doing all of this work, you can see how well you're positioned to start collecting data and see if something is working than if you do this, which is what most people do.
Right. It's like step 1, collect underwear. Step 2, question mark. Step 3, profit. We don't know what step 2 is, so that's what we're figuring out right now.
Exactly.
Cool.
And again, coming up with this for anyone is this is one of the most important things anyone should do for their own business.
So everybody listening to this, make sure you come up with a sentence that is very specific as we've shown you here, because that's going to be fundamental in finding success, marketing, anything that you want to do. So good lesson here.
Yeah, this is the way you get into flow with what needs to happen, right? You get into flow with the audience that already exists and already has these problems. You're just, the traffic already exists. There's already like desire there. It's just getting in front of that desire with ads and now, kind of skimming off, like going in the river with a bucket and grabbing all the water you need, right? The rivers are already flowing. Just find where the rivers are and grab a bucket.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Cool.
Sajid,
Hey, Sachi,
thanks so much,
you're
man.
awesome, man. And thanks for going long. We appreciate it. We know that we try to keep these to an hour, but that was so awesome. That last example, that blew my damn mind wide open. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah, save the best for the last. That's
Awesome, glad
awesome.
you liked it. And yeah, like, again, we just came up with literally like on the spot because we kind of had an idea of this thing.
That's $1 million business right there.
Hmm.
And
And you
you
can do
could
that
just
for
do
any
these
niche.
exercises for any niche. Exactly. There's so much money out there, guys. It's just out there, and people want to give it to you to solve their problem. Just go out and figure out what their problem is and do it. You know, be very specific about who you serve, and that's the best question. We got a bunch of questions here. 14. If we can see what they are, we can start to answer them.
You see
Okay.
question?
Yeah. Peter asked most of them, so I don't know if we
Yeah,
missed
yeah.
any
So
or if we
yeah, he was asking these questions while we were talking about his
got it.
website.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to make sure. Is anybody else still on the webinar who has a question for Sachit? We have a
We've
few more
got
minutes.
Javier Icazuriaga.
I
He's my
just spoke with
friend.
Javier yesterday. We did a little bit of a one-on-one. He's a good
Oh,
dude.
really? That's awesome.
Yeah. He signed up for one of my free. So one of the things I'm doing for you guys right now is I'm testing the strategy of offering free coaching calls. I sent out an email to my list. 25 people showed up. I've done about 7 of them so far. They booked the coaching calls. They're 20 minutes, laser-focused coaching calls. I'm not there to sell anything. And already 2 of them or 3 of them have raised their hand and said they're interested in working with me, which could potentially become a lot of revenue. So this is
Yeah.
a really viable way to not only generate revenue on coaching if you're really good at coaching, but also to learn about the problems and needs of your market, right? So that's just one more strategy that you can use to beta test and verify and kind of pilot your course, right? That to bring dollars in the door first without adding all these complexities and webinars and funnels before you know that you have something that people want.
And I probably that's one of the best ways before you actually do the course is to actually get on the phone with potential buyers and just show curiosity and try and exactly figure out what they're struggling with.
Yeah.
Um,
And in 20 minutes, you have a really good sense. Like if I go back through my notes, I'll have a really good sense of what people are struggling with. Like, for example, a lot of people are really struggling with niching down, right? Just picking a lane and just focusing on one really specific concrete goal that they want to achieve.
mhm.
And they're making themselves crazy because they're diverting their energy in 5 different ways. It's like, just pick the one thing, and then in 90 days you can pick another thing, but split your year up in very specific ways. Like I'll give you a personal example. I had 4 or 5 projects going on. I had to punt 2 of them to the end of the year. Like these are things I still want to do, but I got to focus right now on making Market Your Course as successful as possible. That is like my number one thing, right? And the coaching business, like those are my 2 big things that like those are the top of the pile, and everything else, as important as they are and as much as I want to do, the lowest hanging fruit are those 2 things, growing those 2 things. So that's what I'm working on, and that's what I've decided to dedicate the next 90 days of a sprint towards, and that's why I'm putting the most hours into, and that's really important to focus to get the results, because it's again, it's the divide and conquer strategy. If you're moving your focus and energy all over the place, you only have so much, guys. You gotta pick your lane and really swim in it.
You've defined your Everest.
Right.
Yes. Cheat. You're awesome. Thank you so much for this, man. I can see why you're the best. This is just, the top of their game, and this is true of all world-class performers. I've had the pleasure and honor to spend a lot of time with world-class performers, and I could go into stories for days. But the one thing that they do really well is that they take the most complicated subjects and they make them simple. And they say, listen, do these 1 or 2 things, and you will be successful. And Sachit has shown me again and again and again that he understands this at such a high level that he can explain it like I'm 5 years old, and I get it, and I see the value in it, and I'm inspired to go and do it for myself. And that is something that we want to impart upon you guys. This is a master at work here. So thank you, Sachit.
Thank you guys for
That's
having me.
right. Are you blushing already, Sajid?
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, Sajid. Thanks again a lot. We're gonna wrap this up, and we'll post a replay of this webinar on the Facebook group. And if you guys have any questions, make sure to ask them, email us, or just on the Facebook group you can add any comments. What, Brad?
I'm sending
Yeah.
them to. I'm sending this to our marketing team right away. They're going to watch every minute of this, and I'm installing a keyword. They got to understand. I'm telling them that they need to watch this, and if they don't watch it and tell me the keyword, which is grapefruit, then I'll know they didn't watch it. So if you guys didn't watch it, and you didn't say grapefruit, then guess what? I know you're in trouble.
Yeah, I'm actually in the Facebook group with you guys, right? So,
Yeah.
um,
Yep.
if you guys have any questions, I can jump in later on in a few
Totally.
days to answer them. And then one thing I would love to learn from people in the group is if you can leave a comment in terms of like what was your one biggest insight from this. I'd love to learn that and get feedback on that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And as this thing continues to grow, it's still early days in Market Your Forest Land, but as it continues to grow, we're going to learn more and have more people watch this video. So keep it current, guys. Ask more questions. You know, these people are not going away. We're not going anywhere. So make sure we get these questions, and don't think that just because you watch this webinar and maybe it's a few months from now or a year from now that you're not getting the value that you need. These are timeless marketing principles, right? Mount Everest isn't going anywhere. Ogilvy doesn't, you know, it's been around for 60 years, right? This stuff is being taught because it works. And the better you understand it and implement it in your business, the more success you're going to have ultimately. And we want to be here to support you. So ask us questions. We're all here. We're not going anywhere.
There you go. All right, guys, let's wrap it up. Thanks for showing up, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Sachit, thank you again for the bottom of our hearts for your gracious use of your time, and we really appreciate you sharing your gifts today. Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.